Astrology is so fascinating, but it can seem so complex, especially at first. But the very first time I read my natal chart, it was one of the most self affirming things I've ever done. It was literally life changing. I decided right then and there to teach as many people as I could how to read their chart so they could feel the same incredible sense of purpose and self acceptance as I did. And I knew I wanted to make it as easy as I could. In this video, I'm going to teach you the basics of natal chart reading. We're going to go over how to get a copy of your natal chart, the main parts of a natal chart and what they mean, and finally how you can get started reading your natal chart right away using the three most important parts of the chart. So let's get going. When you want to read your natal chart, the first thing you need to do is get a copy of your natal chart, and you can get that for free at astro.com. Once you're logged in, you can scroll down to Add New Astro Data, and then you can start entering your data. Just hit Continue. And now the chart that you just made is right here. So you can click on it to open it. Click on Chart Drawing Ascendant, and here is a copy of your natal chart. So these are the basic components of a natal chart. This ring shows the signs of the zodiac. These are the houses, and these are the planets. Are there more things to add to this? Of course there are. But most of what you will need to know as a beginner are these three things. These three parts all work and interact together. And now let's break down each of these three components, starting with the signs. You can think of signs of the zodiac as different personalities or different ways of doing things. Each sign has things that it wants and likes, but of course it also has things that it doesn't like. And here's a quick example for each one so that you can see what I mean. But before we run through these, I want you to know that in the description, there's a link to an article on our website, thehappymystic.com, that runs through these 12 zodiac signs in more detail, starting with the first sign, Aries. Aries wants to assert itself, it likes competition, and it likes to be the leader. Aries is impulsive and passionate, and it likes adventure and excitement. And it doesn't like deep emotions particularly or having to wait its turn. Taurus craves a peaceful and stable life. It wants to build really strong connections with people and feel very secure and cozy. And Taurus doesn't like change or taking risks. Gemini needs to know everything. All the facts, all the news. Gemini likes to be on the move. It's very curious and it likes to talk to people. This sign doesn't like having to stick with one thing or dealing with emotions. Cancer is the mothering sign that likes to belong and take care of its people. It likes to express its feelings, use its imagination, and protect itself and other people. Cancer doesn't really like to be alone, and it also doesn't like to rely on logic only for making decisions. Leo wants to express itself for all to see, and it likes everything grand and bold. And Leo appreciates being appreciated, and it likes applause. This sign doesn't care for having to be in the background or doing things small. Virgo is a sign that likes to be the best it can be. Virgo wants to take what it's good at and work really hard to make it 100 times better. And it prefers to do this in a mature and responsible and practical way. It does not love having to take risks or be in the spotlight or needing to use emotions when making decisions. Libra craves balance, and everybody loves Libra because this sign is able to live with the fact that two different viewpoints might be right at the same time. So it can use its great diplomacy skills to diffuse tense situations. Plus, it thinks before it speaks, is charming, loves aesthetics and the finer things, and Libra has style. Scorpio is on the search for the raw truth, and it wants to keep things real, even if it has to deal with the ugly parts of life that most other people don't even want to talk about. This sign wants to pull that truth out, look at it for what it is, feel all the emotions about it, and then heal it. The sign does not love meaningless small talk or having to play the part in social situations. Sagittarius has a need to find meaning in everything. It uses adventure, travel, education, meeting new people, philosophy, and new experiences as a way to stretch its spiritual mind. Sagittarius really wants to do all the things and in a really enthusiastic way, but it does not want to be tied down and forced to think logically and focus. Capricorn is out to leave its legacy or to achieve greatness, and this is for its own self-respect. It's not out looking for the applause of others. It values things like duty and tradition, practicality, and being accountable. Well, it doesn't love having to be around people all the time, or made to be impulsive, or having to deal with feelings. Aquarius just wants to live its life, and it wants to do it on its own terms. Being free to be itself is vital for Aquarius, and so is a sense of fairness and equality, community, and logical thinking. This sign is not a fan of being dependent, dealing with emotions, or social norms. And finally, Pisces wants to free itself from its ego, blend with the universe and the higher power. It wants to love everything and everyone because it feels like everything is connected. So incredible nurturing and compassion come easily for this sign. But what doesn't come easy is independence, focus, and having to live within our society's version of reality. So now that you have a super general idea of the style of each sign, you can look at this chart again and see that it is divided into 12 pieces evenly. And each of those pieces is flavored by the style of that sign. So from here on out, all the rest of the parts of the chart that we talk about will be shaped by the sign that they land in. And now let's move on to the houses. There are 12 houses, and each one represents different parts of your life. It's like everything that you can experience in life can fit into one of these 12 baskets. And here is a very quick rundown to familiarize yourself. The first house is the house of personality. This describes the version of yourself that you show others, and it's how in control you feel of yourself. It's also the general way that you see life. The second house is the house of money, and it relates to anything related to your financial life, your stuff, what you spend your money on, and also how secure and valuable you feel. Your third house is your house of communication, and it covers the style in which you talk, you write, and you listen. But it also encompasses travel that does not feel foreign to you, siblings, and neighbors. Your fourth house is the house of home, your literal home, your family, and also where you came from, your ancestry and your early childhood, and your most influential parent. But it also describes the most private part of yourself, who you truly believe that you are deep down. The fifth house has to do with fun. It's what you do for a good time or blow off steam. This is your hobbies, and it's also performing. It's also the parts of your love life that don't fall within committed relationships. In the sixth house, you buckle back down, and this is the house of work. I kind of think of it as the house of adulting. This is work, health, being responsible, being organized, just generally taking care of your business. This all falls in the sixth house. The seventh house is the house of marriage and lasting partnerships. Committed relationships are described in this house, and also who you're attracted to, and also how you experience these relationships. It also holds traits that you don't recognize within yourself, things you don't think you exhibit or express. Your eighth house is called the house of death, which sounds pretty deep and dark. And while it does have to do with mortality, it also has a lot to do with personal transformation. And it's also those raw and real experiences that come with a committed relationship, like true intimacy and giving yourself to your loved one. The ninth house is sometimes called the house of long journeys, and it holds the experiences that have to do with expanding your mind and your worldview. These are things that might break you out of your normal routine, or higher education, philosophical thinking, traveling to different parts of the world. But it's also about finding faith and meaning in life. The 10th house describes both how society sees you and how you wish society would see you. This house holds your highest aspirations and things that you could do that would feel very purposeful to you. And this could be a career, but it doesn't have to be. Your 11th house encompasses the people that you surround yourself with. These are groups, clubs, organizations that you belong to, people that you identify yourself with. But it also describes how you plan for your future and set yourself up. And last in the wheel is the 12th house. To me, this one is the most mysterious of all, and it's kind of like the house of hidden baggage. A couple names for this are the house of troubles and the house of hidden enemies, which it could be those things, but it's also unconscious triggers and fears that you're probably not even aware of, but that drive your behavior anyway. So really, this house could describe enemies out there or enemies in here. Now that you know a little bit about the 12 houses or baskets that hold all of life's experiences, you can see that the chart is also divided into 12 pie-shaped pieces by these houses. Just know that in some charts, these 12 pie-shaped houses aren't all going to be the same size. So if you see that, don't worry about it. So whatever house something lands in the chart is going to want to work through those life experiences. So there is one more crucial piece of your natal chart to cover, and that is the planets. Planets are what make the whole thing work. This is the energy in the chart. And you can think of each planet as a different part of you. So the sun is the core of who you are. This is who you may identify as or what lights you up and gives you purpose. The moon is your center for emotions. This is your mood and how you react and what makes you happy. Mercury is the thinking and logical part of you. This is your curiosity and your memory and communication. Venus is the part of you that wants to form relationships with other people. And it's what wants to feel cozy, safe, and stable. Mars is your inner competitor. This is your assertive and aggressive side that wants to cure your needs and your wants. But it's also bravery and courage. Jupiter is your optimistic side that knows there is bigger meaning out there. It's the part of you that wants to think bigger, and it's also your luck. Saturn is a part of you that knows that reality is a cold and strict teacher. It wants you to conserve to make sure that you have enough and work hard. It's your struggles, but it can also be your accomplishments. Uranus is your desire to be itself without any constraints. It's the part of you that has new ideas, and Uranus can bring a little uncertainty and calamity into your life. Neptune is the part of you that has pulled the curtain back to see Oz, or has taken the pill and seen the Matrix. This planet represents your desire to feel oneness with everything in the universe. It's your sense that our life and this planet is just one piece in a bigger puzzle, and it's your connection to the higher power. Finally, Pluto. This is the side of you that wants to burn it all down and start over. This is your transformation and your healing, but also wisdom. The planets are the lifeblood of the chart. So you can think of your natal chart as a map of you, with the planets representing different parts and pieces of who you are, expressing themselves through the style of a sign, and acting out within the areas of life of a house. So now that you have all the main pieces of the puzzle, the only thing that's left is just knowing how to put it together. And at first, this can feel very mechanical, like a math equation, but with time and with practice, it begins to feel more intuitive. But there's so much information. How do you even know what's important and what's not, or where to even start? Well, everything's important in your chart. Just reading your sun, moon, and first house will give you a great start. And then when you move on to the rest of the planets, many times you're just building on this foundation. So these 3 points, your sun, moon, and first house, are called your big 3, and they may set the tone for the rest of your reading. To start, begin with your sun. Remember, this is the core of who you are. Then add on its sign that describes this core, what it wants, and how it may behave. Then look at your sun's house. The parts of life described by your sun's house show you experiences that may be vital for helping you feel fulfilled and as though you're being true to yourself. Next, look to your moon. This is your emotions and what makes you feel joy. When you look at its sign, those traits may give you clues as to your overall attitude and mood. And what makes your moon sign happy might be what makes you happy. And your moon's house might give you insights as to what kind of experiences might be really good for your emotional well-being. And the last part of the big 3 isn't a planet. It's actually the boundary line or the cusp of your first house. And this line goes by another name, which is your ascendant. This is your outward personality, or you can think of it as your vibe or your essence. It's how other people see you, but also how you see the world. The sign your ascendant lands in is also called your rising sign. Traits and qualities of your rising sign might be how people you know describe you. And if you want to dive deeper into your big 3, at thehappymystic.com, we have the Big 3 Reflection Journal, where you take a better look into each of your 3 vital placements and then how they affect you together as a whole. It's under $10, it's an instant download, and the link's in the description. So once you've written down and have a really good grasp of your big 3, then you can start to take a look at the other planets. So pick a planet, write down what part of you that planet represents, and then look at its sign and see what might motivate that planet or how it may act out. And then consider that planet's house and what areas of your life you might see that planet in action the most. The more you learn and practice, the easier it is to see this as one big picture, and the more intuitive it becomes. And you can begin to learn from it. This takes a lot of self-reflection and asking yourself questions. For instance, if you have Venus and Taurus in the 5th house, what strengths could this bring? So think about relationships. We're talking about Venus, and how the best traits of Taurus could help shape your partnerships. And what are all the good ways that this could play out in your 5th house of fun and no strings attached relationships? But you could also use your natal chart as a way to foresee possible problems or challenges. Thinking of your love life, which is Venus, mixed with a need for stability, Taurus, within the context of romantic flings, the 5th house, you could see how there could be some pitfalls to watch for. And that is one example of how your natal chart could be used as a tool for greater self-awareness. One great use for your chart is to help point you in the direction of a greater sense of purpose, which is what you'll learn how to do in this video.